What's up, guys? Welcome to the line change. This one, we're live. So yeah, this is live right now. Thanks for coming. It's been a while since I did a live stream. Got the idea from Swerve and Irvin, obviously, to do this, and wanted to do this as it is the last game recap for the Abbotsford Canucks. As everyone knows by now, Abby won. Abby, we are the champions. As I said in my little short, we are the champions. Calder Cup champions, that is. So I wanted to do a live game recap. And basically what I'm going to do is normally I would read the recap. This time I'm going to put it on the screen so you guys can see. Dave Hall, who does these articles, does fantastic work. And I want to showcase some of that. And also, he does put some GIFs from the game, so you guys can actually see those as well. So we're going to do that. We're going to talk about Abby, obviously, after the recap. Maybe we'll discuss some other things as well. Canuck news. Obviously, nothing has happened so far today. We'll talk a little bit about me being on Canucks Uncensored later tonight. So stay tuned for that. That'll be coming at 9 o'clock, I believe. So be sure to tune in for that. And we're just here to celebrate the Abbotsford Canucks winning the Calder Cup. Now, obviously, I covered the Abbotsford Canucks throughout this entire playoff run. I think I missed maybe one game that I didn't do a recap on. But other than that, I recapped, covered every game, was, into each game. Obviously, you guys saw me a lot on Russell streams. By the way, big shout out to Russell. Congratulations on surpassing 1,400 subscribers. Really proud of you, man. Keep up the great work. And, obviously, I got really, as I just mentioned, really into the Abbotsford Canucks. I started knowing their names. Started looking into each of these players, and yeah, I'm a full-on Abby supporter now. So without further ado, before we dive into this recap, which I know is what you guys came to see, I want to give a big shout out to my sponsor, Gassy Jack Art, maker of that incredible artwork you see behind me. And you guys can check out Gassy Jack Art at GassyJackArt.com. He still does have his end of season sale going on where you buy 2 prints, get an additional 2 prints for free. Check him out at GassyJackArt.com. You can also check him out on Instagram at GassyJackArt. So without further ado, let's dive into the article. I'm going to bring this up so you guys can see. So there we go. Farmies, Sealoves takes home MVP as Abbotsford Canucks win the 2024-2025 Calder Cup. So let's go ahead and just dive right into it. Obviously written by the incredible Dave Hall. The Abbotsford Canucks had a chance to win the Calder Cup at home in front of a sold-out crowd on a Saturday night. Unfortunately, one of the worst pinball bounces you'll see forced them back on a long journey back to Bojangles Coliseum. I still can't get over that name. Bojangles Coliseum? That is quite the doozy. Sounds like a jungle gym, if I'm being completely honest. Sounds like something you'd find in a mall, for kids. But anyway, there they were greeted with nearly 40-degree weather and a hostile home crowd looking to cheer their team to victory. But this is the Abbotsford Canucks, a team that hadn't lost back-to-back games since mid-April, a team that came in 8-0 after suffering a loss in the playoffs. A team that has battled back time and time again as one of the most resilient teams you'll find in the history of the American League. This is Manny Malhotra's team. Despite a typical slow start, which we have seen in nearly every game during this run, the club battled back. Fittingly, a second period goal from Linus Karlsson, assisted by Archie Baines, catapulted them to a lead, and they never looked back. The ice conditions were treacherous, but in Abbotsford Canucks fashion, they staved off a late push to take home the 2024-2025 Calder Cup for the first time in franchise history. As you can see, A little video there of Chase Waters hoisting the Calder Cup. This is the final farmies of the season, so let's go ahead and dive into the lineup. They may have lost Game 5, but it wasn't necessarily for a lack of effort or lack of play from the roster. As such, Manny Malhotra stuck with the lineup that has gotten them here to the Calder Cup final. The lone change in the lineup came among the defensive combinations. Nikita Hirose jumped up to pair with Victor Mancini, while Guillaume Brisebois dropped to pair with rookie Kirill Kudryavtsev. With his 24th consecutive start, Artur Silovs got the nod as the starting goaltender for the Canucks. May as well start calling him King Silovs at this point. First line, Baines, Sasson, Carlson, DiGiuseppe, Mueller, Lekaramaki, Blay, Kara, and Smith. And then you had Nielsen, Waters, and Klimovich. Then you had Hirose, Mancini, Wolanin, and Wu. And then Brisebois and Kudryavtsev the pace, but the Canucks opened the shots, picking up a few good looks courtesy of a Kirill Kudryavtsev point shot. At the other end, Artur Silovs was warming up his glove hand, stopping Michael Benning point blank. But in the early in zone giveaways haunted them, and after an unfortunate turnover from behind the net, Charlotte made them pay. Charlotte would score to make it 1-0. John Leonard from Matt Kierstad. It was a dream start for the home team, who were in desperation mode and looking to claw their way back into the Calder Cup final series. Despite the Canucks grabbing the first pair of shots, the Checkers pumped Silovs with 5 consecutive shots in 3 minutes to take an early favorable lead in that regard. The Checkers continued to press, forcing the netminder to stay sharp throughout the first half of the frame. With several giveaways and scramble play, it was as nervous of a start as you'll find in nearly every facet. The Abbey Canucks looked inferior to their home team opponents, and a 2-0 Charlotte goal encapsulated those nerves. Charlotte would score to make it 2-0. Jack Devine from Eamon Powell and Oliver Aguilar. While rushing up the ice, Ty Mueller made a drop attempt. Unfortunately, no Canuck was there, and the Checkers transitioned up the ice. At that exact moment, Akito Hirose took a tumble. That dang Bojangles ice. A 3-on-1 odd-man rush against Victor Mancini. Despite Mueller's best efforts to get back into the play, Charlotte played a perfect give-and-go to beat Silovs and double their lead. But just as things started to get out of hand, the Canucks were cut with a break. With less than 3 minutes remaining, Trevor Carrick was hit with a delay of game penalty after he lifted the puck over the glass. With the top unit out, Canucks went to work to cut the lead in half, and they did. Abbotsford would score to make it 2-1. Sammy Blay from Christian Wolanin and Archie Baines. Following some good work down low, the puck worked its way to the top of the umbrella. Grabbing it off the half hole was Sammy Blay, who used Max Sasson's net front screen to perfection before sniping it in the far side top corner. And just like that, the Canucks found a way to get themselves back in the game. Despite being doubled up on shots and relatively outplayed in the scrambled period, they took a 2-1 deficit into the dressing room. Shots after one period were 12-6 in favor of Charlotte. Let's take a look at the second period. After a slow opening period, the Canucks jumped on the Checkers early in the second. Abbotsford would score to make it 2-2. Danila Klimovich from Chase Waters and Tristan Nielsen. Jockeying for position, Tristan Nielsen beat out his man and dropped the puck to Chase Waters, who cut toward the net while showing some tremendous drive and patience. Although Kapelkakin got the initial save, Danila Klimovich followed up to jam home the rebound to tie the game. It's the first goal Klimovich has scored in these playoffs that wasn't a game-winning goal, and said he settled for the game-tying goal. Aside from giving up a power play at the first half, was all Canucks, as it took the Checkers over 8 minutes of play to find their first shot of the period. In fact, the Canucks had to kill off 2 consecutive penalties, which they did quite seamlessly. Silovs was comfortable, aggressive, and poised, stopping all 7 shots faced in the frame. And that set the table for one of the best shifts you'll ever see. Abbotsford would score to make it 3-2. Linus Karlsson from Archdeep Baines and Jet Wu. The top line of Linus Karlsson, Max Sasson, and Archdeep Baines on the ice. They circled for nearly a minute. So good, we're going to show most of it, as you guys can see here. Nearly cashing in on a rebound was Baines, who was hauled down to the ice. Sticking with it, he grabbed the puck, spun, and found a wide-open Karlsson with an incredible pass to hold their first lead of the game, as you'll see in this little GIF right here. Beautiful goal. What was a relatively quiet period that included 3 giant kills from the Abbotsford Canucks ended with an incredible finish. Suddenly, the Canucks found themselves 20 minutes away from glory, but it wasn't without one last tremendous save from Seelov to keep the score as is. Shots after 2 periods were at 19-13 in favor of Charlotte. And let's go ahead and take a look at the third period. The third period kicked off with a bang, with the Checkers gaining entry. They attempted a cross-ice pass, reading the play well. Christian Wolanin stepped up to pressure and forced the turnover. Lurking was Max Sasson, who turned on the Jets and broke out for an odd-man rush. With no pass, he fired 2 shots on Kakkonen, testing the netminder early. Jonathan Karamaki showed off his release, forming something from nothing, nearly beating the netminder with a surprise shot. But once again, the Canucks got themselves into penalty troubles, with Klimovich earning 2 minutes for hooking. But their penalty kill has been one of the stories of the entire playoff run, and it came up huge again to go 4 for 4 on the night so far. The Canucks wasted a power play of their own, but with sub 10 minutes remaining, that was the least of their concerns. By now, there was one thing on the agenda, and that was to shut things down. The only issue was that the weather was nearly 40 degrees before the humidity in the area. For almost 60 minutes of being cut up, the puck was bouncing more than a pinball machine on the ice. Is that an advantage or not? Whatever it was, it sure led to some interesting moments. The period wasn't without its chances, none better than a clean 2-on-1 led by Ty Mueller. With time winding down, the Canucks defensive core gave up their bodies, doing everything and anything they could to put this game away. Try saying that 3 times fast. It turns out that the ice conditions were an incredible disadvantage. With the Checkers' net empty and pressing hard, the puck continuously bounced over the sticks of frantic Abbotsford players. It was the longest 3-minute stretch you could imagine, but the Canucks held on, staving off a late and crushing goal. And with that, the Abbotsford Canucks are your 2024-2025 Calder Cup champions. With the gauntlet of 5 consecutive series, the Canucks managed to take down all opponents and earn a 4-2 series victory in Charlotte. Final shots of the game were 30-20 in favor of Charlotte. Final thoughts of the season from Dave Hall. What a run, and I completely echo what he says here. From a team sitting mid-table when the calendar flipped to 2025 to a Calder Cup champion. Yeah, just remember that. In January, Abbotsford wasn't a playoff team. They were I believe they were mid, like a 500 team. And then they went on that incredible 13-game win streak, and now they're Calder Cup champions. That is very reminiscent of the St. Louis Blues. They went on to win the Stanley Cup when they were, not even a playoff team in January, and then they just, took over the league, turned on the Jets, and they went on to win the Stanley Cup. From top to bottom, this team was everything you want in a team: gutsy veterans, speedy forwards, rookies playing beyond their years, and of course, stellar goaltending. On top of that, they were coached by one of the more impressive rookie bench bosses in the history of the game. Game 6 was the definition of a Manny Malhotra game. They remained calm when going got tough. They won the majority of their 50-50 battles, which led to all 3 Abbotsford goals. They laid their body on the line in the dying minutes and did everything they could to seal the victory. This was a Manny Malhotra victory. When all was said and done, the team took home nearly everything. Linus Karlsson led with 14 goals, which included the Calder Cup game-winning goal. Archie Bains led the table with 17 assists, which included the Calder Cup winning assist. Linus Karlsson with 26, Archie Bains with 24, and Sammy Blais with 19 led the table in points. Kirill Kuzhatsev, just 21 years old, led the field as a plus 18. And then King Seelovs himself, Artur Seelovs, led the table in wins, shutouts, and took home the Calder Cup MVP. As you can see, a tweet there from the Abbotsford Canucks. What a season. And that is the article. So let's get back to, there we go. So obviously, Abbotsford Canucks, big win, absolutely incredible playoff run. I am pleased and happy to have been a part of it, at least, somewhat, a small part of, covering them. Obviously going forward, I think I'm going to, can't really tell the future. And obviously, we want to, live in this moment right now with the Abbotsford Canucks having won the Calder Cup. And yeah, we are most certainly going to be seeing all of these Abbotsford players at some point be called up to the Vancouver Canucks. Real question is who? Now, obviously, there's some names that you can say immediately will be coming up. Like Linus Karlsson, he signed, I believe, a one-way contract with the Vancouver Canucks, so he will most certainly be on the big roster. Victor Mancini is another one who will most likely get the call-up and will be a full-time member of the Canucks. I could even see maybe Archie Baines gets a look. Maybe Max Sasson. Maybe even Ty Mueller. But the one name that a lot of people are really talking about is Sammy Blais. Now, the question is, will Sammy Blais be offered a NHL contract? Because right now he only has a AHL contract. And after the way he performed in this playoff run and his veteran experience when it comes to the playoffs, not just at the AHL playoffs, but NHL playoffs, remember, he's won a Stanley Cup. So I think it is in the Canucks' best interest to offer him a NHL contract, and would love to see him in the bottom six for the Canucks. Obviously, he has that grit, and, a lot of people complain about Canucks are too soft. They're too soft. No, they don't stand up for each other. You got a guy who does that in Sammy Blais. So I think it's, a foregone conclusion that they should offer him a contract, essentially reward him with winning the Calder Cup, reward him with a contract. That's just my personal opinion. Let me know in the comment section down below what you guys think. Obviously, another one is Artur Silovs. There's been a lot of talk lately about, should they trade Demko? Should they trade Lankinen? Should they trade Silovs? Obviously, after Abby winning the Calder Cup, I wouldn't really consider trading Silovs. Now, that would be a bit of a crushing blow, I think, and would kind of make the organization look a little bad, too, if they just suddenly traded Silovs after he not only won the Calder Cup, but was the MVP. That would leave a poor taste in a lot of people's mouths, mine included. So then there's, talk about maybe trading Demko. But obviously we've covered on this channel that what's his value? What can we even get for Thatcher Demko? Then there's Kevin Lankinen, who I've made it known that I don't think he's being traded at all. I don't even think he's being shopped because he has a no-move clause in the first 2 seasons of his contract. And much like I said about Silovs and, how poor taste it would be if they were to trade Silovs, I also think it would be kind of poor taste if they traded Lankinen so quickly after signing him to that big extension. It would make him look kind of foolish, and people would probably be saying, why'd you even extend him if you're just going to trade him like not even a year later? So, but I'm not alone in here. We got Skytrain Alfred. Good to see you, my friend. He mentions he sees Karlsson, Sasson, Mancini, Baines, and maybe Blais as potential Vancouver Canucks regulars down the road. I completely and wholeheartedly agree. I don't know what that did. And then he talks about Silovs. I believe Silovs is now part of the big boy team now, technically. Well, yes, I 100% agree. Obviously, people are talking about, Silovs no longer being waiver exempt. Therefore, he cannot start in Abbotsford next season unless he clears waivers. So he can't start in Abbotsford. So Canucks are really handcuffed here. So I could most certainly see a Demko trade. Out of the 3 goaltenders that I just mentioned, I can see a goaltender trade. So I do think it's going to be Demko out of the 3. For what? I do not know. And yeah, looks like Alfred completely agrees with me on the whole Lankinen thing. Can't just trade Lankinen when we literally just signed him. There's no way I'm losing Seahawks for nothing. Absolutely. Obviously this Calder Cup run has probably changed Jim, basically Albion and Rutherford, their probably thought process when it comes to their goaltenders. They probably weren't expecting in January to be having this conversation. Because, at that point, obviously Abbotsford was not in the playoff picture. And then they went on this miracle run, absolutely amazing run. And then Archer Sealoves ends up being the MVP. He ends up helping the Abbotsford Canucks get to a Calder Cup. And now they got a huge decision to make. And I think regardless of what decision they make, it's not going to be a popular one. There's a lot of people out there who love Demko, who think he's great despite his injury proneness. There's a lot of people who like Lankinen, and obviously, I guess you could take Lankinen out of the conversation, I guess, at least in my opinion anyway. So it's essentially down to Demko and Sealoves. So, and Alfred says it best. So easy to say trading Demko makes the most sense, but as you said, what do we get in return? Exactly. Goalie trades don't have much value. I mean, obviously the one exception is that Darcy Kemper and Pierre-Luc Dubois trade. Obviously that was, but I don't think we're going to be able to get something similar to that at all with Demko and his, when it comes to his injury history. Because people just don't know what his situation is. They don't want to risk it. They're unsure if he's fully healthy, which I do think he is. Going into this upcoming season, I do think he's completely healthy. But at the same time, last season did not help him whatsoever with, the multiple injuries that he had, and then the Popliteus injury. He's still hasn't, I guess, fully recovered from that. He never will. They said that it's not an injury that you can just fix with surgery. He's going to have to learn to play with it. So, yeah, I'm not sure what they can get for Demko. I think I've seen some people spitball, use Demko and the first round pick to get Marco Rossi. I know I've been big on the Marco Rossi hype train, but I don't know if I'd even be willing to do that. Marco Rossi for Demko and the first round pick. I don't think that gets it done because Minnesota doesn't need goalies. They have freaking I can't even pronounce his name. Jesper Wallstedt. And then they of course have their starter, whose name I don't know why is not cluing in on me. Oh, Gustafsson. That's right. They have Gustafsson. They just lost Fleury. They have Gustafsson. He's their starter now. And what was it? Last year he did. No, not last year. I think it was the year before. He did really well. I think he had a bit of a down year this past year, but he was still relatively good. So Minnesota, they don't need goalies. So they would not be interested in that trade. They've already made it known that if they're going to trade Rossi, they want a center in return. Or at least a NHL roster player. Yes, Demko kind of fits that, but again, they don't need goalies. So they're not going to even entertain that deal. So that's off the table. Do you think maybe Buffalo would be a potential destination for Demko? I mean, I talked earlier today about Alex Tuch and him being a potential target for the Canucks. Obviously, there's a little bit of, a Vancouver connection there due to Tuch's wife being from the Vancouver area. That could be a potential. I mean, I know Buffalo has UPL, but he's kind of been a mixed bag for people. So do you think Buffalo would even entertain Demko first round pick for Alex Tuch? Or would you even do something in regards to JJ Peterka? In that light, maybe do like a massive deal that includes, and this is just me just spitballing, maybe playing a little fantasy, JJ Peterka and Alex Tuch for Demko first round pick and maybe something else in that package. Would you guys do that? I don't know. Our friend also mentions, out of all the three goalies, trading Demko may seem to be the best option going forward, probably getting the best value in return, depending on what we get. Absolutely. My only thing with Marco Rossi is his small size. Canucks need to cut the habit of acquiring small players. Perhaps we should try someone with bigger size and skill. I completely see that, but I don't know what it is about Rossi that just has me, just salivating at the thought of Marco Rossi being a Vancouver Canuck. Has nothing to do with his size, just it has to do with his skill. But obviously, the Canucks having not been able to get that trade package done, I do have a little bit of doubts on if they can even get that deal done. Obviously, but at the same time, the Canucks don't have a whole lot of options. With Zegras off the board, not that I'm not that I was interested in Zegras whatsoever, because I was not. I made that clear in that video that I did on Zegras. I was not big on Zegras at all. But then you also have Matt Duchene. And man, Matt Duchene was a big want for me. I believe Rev Trev was also really high on Matt Duchene as well. And man, it just sucks that Dallas scooped him up just like that. I didn't think Dallas had a chance at re-signing him due to their cap. But the fact that they were able to finagle that and get it done and then trade Marchment to the Kraken, bravo to the Dallas Stars on that part. Bravo on that. That is some fine work by that management group. And yeah, it's just left us wondering, obviously we're about a week since the Florida Panthers won the Stanley Cup, and the Canucks haven't done anything. Now, obviously, maybe they were waiting for the Abbotsford Canucks to finish their playoff run. Perhaps some of these Abbotsford players may not even be on the team next year. They may be traded away, used as potential trade chips, and which is going to suck considering they just won a championship, and now there's a possibility some of them may be moved out, which absolutely sucks. But we still haven't heard anything, up until today, up until at least this morning. Who knows what we'll hear later today or what. But I do think it's a little poetic, and this is, Florida wins the Stanley Cup. And I believe I may have actually said this in a Canucks Uncensored chat or somebody's chat. I said this, reverse psychology. Panthers win the Stanley Cup and their AHL affiliate loses in the Calder Cup finals. I called it. I nailed it. Sorry to quickly switch things over back to Abby, but hey, I called it. Boom, you heard it here. I nailed it right there. But yeah, later tonight, as I just mentioned, Canucks Uncensored. We'll be on there at 9:00. I'm actually going to be, after I finish this, I'm going to be heading over to meet up with them, or at least getting ready to head over to meet up with them. And actually, Elvin makes a good point here. Still waiting for the announcement pending trade that was supposedly made. Yeah, me too. I thought it would have been, answered by now, or they would have announced it by now. Now that, it is 1 day removed from the Calder Cup Finals, so maybe they're giving it, a day or two. I don't know. And for all we know, that trade may have fallen through. We don't know. Obviously, I'm, constantly searching, X or Twitter, whatever you guys want to call it. I'm constantly looking at, in particular, Canucks news summaries, just waiting for something. And obviously, I'll have it for you guys as soon as I hear it and am able to put up a video. I'll give it to you guys. Now, I was planning on waiting, but I guess I'll hint at it right now. But speaking of, Alfred's announcement, the Canucks having an announcement, I just may have a bit of an announcement myself. I'm not going to completely give it away because I kind of want to save it for Canucks Uncensored later tonight. I want to fully drop it, but I will give you guys a little hint. I will be having another guest on the podcast. My last guest was, of course, David Quadrelli from Canucks Army. And, that he was my first guest. And I will be having another guest, hopefully within the next couple of weeks. And I don't want to speak too much on it in case, things fall through. But I will be announcing that guest perhaps later tonight on Canucks Uncensored. So stay tuned for that. Which gives you guys another reason to watch Canucks Uncensored tonight at 9 o'clock. I'll be on the Canucks Uncensored sofa. I'll be on the couch. I'll be hanging out with Jordan and Witten. And who knows, maybe even Japan 4 might be there. I don't know. Who knows? Alfred's got a good one here. Canuck Clay as the next guest. I can say it's not Clay as much as I would love to have Clay on, but not saying that I won't. He is definitely on my list of having a guest, but no, it's, how am I going to say this without really giving it away? Let me just say, here, I'll just say this. It's not someone from the Canucks YouTube, content creator community. It's not someone from that. It's, I'll say this. It's someone involved with the Abbotsford Canucks. I'll leave it at that. Okay? That's all you're going to get out of me. So if you guys really want to know who it is, tune in to Canucks Uncensored tonight at 9 o'clock. And you will hear it from me that night. I have been speaking with this person, so stay tuned for that. And yeah, I guess it's 4 o'clock now. Should probably start getting ready to head out, as I do have to go from North Vancouver to Burnaby, so it might take me a little bit. And I obviously do not want to deal with traffic, so I think I might cut this stream a little short. You know what? All right. Alfred, that's a good one. That's a good one, buddy. But I'm still not gonna say. It could be Brandon Astle. Astle, sorry. It could be him. Could be Max Assen. It could be Landon Ferraro. Who knows? But like I said, it is someone involved with Abby. Heck, it could be Manny Malhotra. But that's what I'm going to leave you guys with. I won't actually tell you who it is. You'll find out later tonight, as I mentioned. But yeah, this was great having another live stream. Obviously, I'm looking forward to doing more and more of these once the season starts. Obviously, I'll continue what I was doing before with my recaps where I was doing them live. I'm going to keep doing that. I do have some things planned for, leading up to the draft, July 1st. More so July 1st than the draft. I believe Rev Trev and I have talked a little bit about doing something for July 1st. So stay posted for that. Once I hear more about it, I'll let you guys know right away. Or Rev Trev himself will let you know. But we're definitely trying to plan something for that. Some sort of collaboration between the two of us. In regards to that, obviously, you'll continue to see me on Clay's streams. I'm not sure what Russell's going to be doing now that the playoffs are over. Obviously, I'm looking to do some stuff with him, hopefully down the line. And then, obviously, with Canucks Uncensored tonight, obviously, this is just the beginning between the two of us. Obviously, this is just the start of us working together and doing some more stuff. Maybe next time I'll get Jordan and Witten on this channel as guests, along with, Clay, Russell, maybe even Locked on Canucks. Who knows? Maybe I'll get Quads on the show as well, once again. But yeah, that's going to do it for me. Once again, thank you to those that have shown, that are here in the stream. Alfred, great to see you, buddy. Looking forward to the watch parties for Canucks Army. Obviously, I'm very much looking forward to those come the start of the season. Alfred, Juja Kara, thanks. Edmonton Oilers in a post on Sawyer Minio's Insta. Yeah, I saw that. I also saw, Alfred mentioned Brandon Astle. The guy was still partying at like 6 o'clock this morning. Like, I am impressed. Not gonna lie, I'm really impressed by that. I was checking out his, I was just scrolling through X and I saw he was tweeting, a bunch of stuff at 6 o'clock in the morning, and people were even asking, "Are you still going? Like, is the party still going?" But I thought that was pretty funny. But once again, Abbotsford Canucks, Calder Cup champions. I've already ordered my Calder Cup champions hat, so I'm expecting that. Maybe I'll get like a shirt or something as well from them. I was checking out the AHL shop website. I do like their selection of Calder Cup merch compared to Van Base. Not really fond of Van Bases. They have a hat that just says champ on it. Doesn't say like Calder Cup champions or anything like that. So I was very unimpressed with that. I was more impressed with the AHL stuff. So I'm looking forward to getting that. Obviously, as I mentioned, I'm very much looking forward to being on Canucks Uncensored later tonight. And yeah, Alfred says it best. Canucks brought home Mr. Calder. Now next mission to bring home Lord Stanley. Now, one thing I do want to say, and I'll probably say this later on tonight on Canucks Uncensored, because I know they don't like the Oilers. They're big Oiler, I don't want to say haters, but, I will say this, and again, I'll say it later again tonight. The Abbotsford Canucks did what the Edmonton Oilers couldn't do. So therefore, in my opinion, Abbotsford Canucks are Canada's team. And I'm going to leave it at that. So there, you heard it. I'll say it again later tonight. Abbotsford Canucks are Canada's team. They did what the Edmonton Oilers couldn't do. They brought home the cup, and they won in 6 games. So there you go. If you guys like to get involved with the channel, you guys can obviously like the video. If you guys want to stay up to date on all Canucks content, you guys can smash that subscribe button and turn on your notifications so you don't miss a single video. As I mentioned earlier about social media, you guys can find us on social media on Facebook. Just search The Line Change. Find us on Instagram at The Line Change. Find us on X at linechangevan. Find us on TikTok at the.line.change.po. Once again, feel free to give us a follow on all of our social media platforms. You can find our podcast on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. Once again, with Spotify, feel free to give us a follow as well as rate and review us. But my name is Tyler. This is the Line Change Podcast. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.